We have planted the seeds and watered the Spring Football Talk Show garden with yet another edition of Spring Football Has Sprung. Eugene Over with you. Glad to see you. Glad to be here. Week 9. I mean, whoo, time flies when you're having fun. And we hopefully are going to have a lot of fun on this show as we start to wind down the season. I'm going to unveil the Spring Football Has Sprung proverbial United Bowl mansion. We are going to see who is definitely enjoying that mansion, who's in there right now, and who is starting to fall a little further back. I'm also going to talk about the one thing, the one tweet, I should say, the one tweet along with this one other stuff, one other development that I'm surprised more people haven't reported on in terms of Oklahoma City that I believe is going to seal the future of the Stallions for good, and perhaps not in a good way if you are a Stallions fan. And then, of course, we are going to have our pick'em segment. And as we kick things off in this edition of Spring Football Has Sprung, um, Jordan Talamu, I mean, boy, injured reserve right there for him. I mean, the injury, that sort of thing. I mean, this could not have come at a worse time for the defenders. And I would dare say, in terms of thinking about the optics of having DC playing in the United Bowl. I mean, first off, let's just say, hey, prayers up to Jordan Talamu, great guy. I've had the opportunity to talk with him at one of the league events. And he was very, very excited about Mike Rapoli and the infusion of energy um, in the league. And to see him go out like that, I mean, it is just very, very devastating to see. So, again, wish Jordan well. Jordan, if you're watching this, we wish you well. Again, this could not have been a worse thing, not just for Jordan, but I think also for the league, because you want to have those seats filled at the United Bowl. And this is going to be, I think, a hell of a climb for DC now. If DC is to get into this. And I don't want to sit here and suggest that the league should have a thumb on the scale in terms of this stuff over here. I obviously these games have to be played fair and square, but definitely I know that if I was somebody owning the league and I was like, oh boy, I've been trying to get, hopefully get DC into this for the optics. Remember, for the last 2 years, they played the United Bowl in St. Louis, and St. Louis did not get in either time. And um, when you looked at the stands, it was pretty sparse. So, again, it's just one of those things. But Jordan is one of the faces of the league. I've always said this. I think that this is somebody who, for anybody who's new to the league, he is somebody who I think is a real good ambassador to the league. So let's hope that he recovers very, very nicely, especially in this off season. And um thinking about now, who is going to go bowling in this? I mean, St. Louis, I don't know what happened with this past Sunday's game. I mean, I thought I was looking at Eberflus over here in terms of the lack of clock management and everything. And then I'm looking at um, the last play there, ran out of time. It almost reminded me of the Cowboys with Dak Prescott a couple of years ago. Um, Remember that? I mean, I just don't know what happened there. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you expect in week 1. I'm not expecting that kind of stuff in week 8. So hopefully the Battlehawks will clean the stuff up in all of this. And let me just say this: the games, and credit to Mike Rapoli, I mean, the bedside manner you guys may not like. You may not like the bedside manner. You may not even give him a Christmas card 31 weeks from now. But let me tell you, by eliminating the conferences, these games have become, this week's games and next week's games have become a hell of a lot more exciting. Way, 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 way more compelling stuff. By this point, if you think about the last 2 years, at this point, you will have had the playoffs already decided, but this is going to keep people on the edge of their seats, and we love to see it. And what I think you'll also love to see is we're going to debut something over here. What this is going to be now, the spring football has sprung United Bowl Mansion. There's always a lot of these jokes that's especially in the NFL, that's for those that are eliminated, they head to Cancun. Well, I decided that I'm going to find a bit of a mansion in Barbados for those who wants to enter the United Bowl. And now, of course, I'm not really buying a mansion such, at least not yet anyway. But I thought that it would be nice to just kind of sort of see who I think proverbially is within this mansion, this championship, this United Bowl mansion, and whose fortunes I think are getting further and further and further away. So right now, I think the Orlando Storm are clearly in the mansion. I mean, the coaching has been phenomenal, not unstoppable, but clearly the momentum has been with the Storm at this point. They really, really are. So they are definitely in the United Bowl mansion, I believe, right here. Now, St. Louis and DC, I mean, it's a bit of a toss up now because, look, the injury to Jordan Ta'amu, not particularly great. Last Sunday's game, also not particularly great showing from the Spring King, Luis Perez. I mean, I look at this 55% completion percentage, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. It's not exactly a king-like performance, but hey, look, even Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, they have their off days. Okay, so I don't know. When I look at St. Louis and DC and their positioning of this, they're probably between the pool and the front steps at this point at this mansion, in terms of trying to get in to the United Bowl. So we'll see. DC, I think, is probably closer to the edge of the pool right here, especially with the backup quarterback situation and all the other teams now in this are probably going to pull DC's leg. DC maybe has one leg in the pool, but the other teams are probably looking to bring DC down with this. I mean, when you look at these standings at this point, again, look at the standings. I mean, the amount of parity, and I mean, by the way, you have Anthony Baggett who pointed this out in a tweet. The parity between the top and the bottom teams, even the bottom half of this league, I mean, is just something else. I mean, Birmingham could very well play spoiler in this, especially those in the middle. Birmingham and the Kings, they could really play spoiler here. Um, and then right now, all the other teams, probably the teams that are closer to the bottom of this, are really, really about to drown here. They're really about to drown, and especially Birmingham. Speaking of drowning, not so much that Birmingham is drowning in terms of their performance on this point in the field, but they may be drowning in terms of their future of the league. And in the attendance and ratings dissection, I was not planning to bring this up, um, because last week on the 2 minute drill, we talked extensively about the declines with Birmingham in terms of their attendance. I wasn't planning to bring this up on this show, but then there was the tweet from Mike Rapoli, who kind of sort of telepathed this kind of stuff over here. and you're hearing this directly from the owner. You're hearing it directly from the owner that, that they forgot that this was that this was in the way that this was in the way game or something like that. And again, you're getting this stuff from the owner. Now, Birmingham, granted, in this past game, they did slightly better than what was the last go around. But look, folks, I'm of the belief that multiple things can be true simultaneously. It's the kind of thing that is lost on maybe a small fraction of my former colleagues, by the way. But I'm of the belief that multiple things can be true at the same time. And this is what recently President and CEO Russell Brandon had to say.
We got to build out the local markets.
Yeah.
We're working our tails off at that, and we have some markets that are doing really well. We have some markets that need a little bit more TLC.
He's not wrong. Although I think in Birmingham's case, it is more like, forget TLC. This is an extreme makeover home edition that needs to happen, I think, in this. I mean, where's Ty Pennington when you need him these days? I mean, many things, as I said, can be true at the same time. Yes, Rapoli has needled you guys. Yes, the magnification of Birmingham's attendance relative to some of the other teams in this league has been something else. I mean, you look at, again, the declines that have happened in your two historically strongest markets, DC and St. Louis. And then you look at Dallas. The move to Frisco, I think maybe better optics notwithstanding. I don't think that move has been so great in terms of the numbers. But the one thing, actually, a couple of things that have been missing from the analysis, even when this stuff was bandied about over the summer, was that the Stallions, you all have had quite a couple of advantages in here. The first thing is that you guys have been the only team in this league, and even when we take into account pre-merger as well, you guys have been the only team to win three times that you guys have won in the league. And free peats in sports, just in general, are tough to come by. That's the one thing. And then the other thing is that you guys, and also let me again remind people that DC, yes, DC has declined, but they've only won once. Dallas, who have won, also have won once. And the reality is that when you win three times, and you guys are like sort of the Kansas City Chiefs of the league, when you win three times, then guess what? You are going to have a bigger target on your back. That's just the reality of the situation. You are going to have a bigger target. And it's as I said, even in the 2 minute drill last week, if the Chiefs were to have declined in attendance quite a bit, then the alarm bells will be ringing over at 345 Park Avenue. Okay. So, I mean, it is just what it is. The other thing that is also interesting about this is that, remember, this is not a lack of knowing, of the market knowing that the Birmingham Stallions exist, because you all have had the hub. You since 2022, you guys have had the hub. Yet that is until the merger, when it reverted to not so much reverted to, but it really adopted the hub over in Choctaw Stadium in Arlington. So you guys have had the hub. All of the USFL games were most of the USFL games, I should say, were played in Birmingham. So I'm it's tough to really say that nobody knows the Birmingham Stallions when they have played within the hub model. Um, and then I look at the numbers here, folks. I look at the numbers, and with the exception of the home opener, the average attendance of Birmingham, and let's, I'm putting this up. When we take out the home openers of every team in this league this year, because those numbers were inflated by the concerts, when we really drill down on this, the average attendance of Birmingham is only higher than Houston and Dallas. Only higher than Houston and Dallas. And what's worse is is that only when we take that number and we analyze that as a percentage of the home opener retention, if you will, then Birmingham has only retained 32%, 32% of attendance. And that, folks, I think is probably the most damning statistic here. It is a very damning stat right here. Um, just to put that even further in context, the that average is lower, actually is lower than every single team except for the Memphis Showboats that have been jettisoned from the league. And then if you want to add the 2023 teams that were jettisoned, okay, now remember, we don't have all the teams that were jettisoned in 2023 because the USFL did not report numbers, okay? But if we look at the Seattle Sea Dragons and the Vegas Vipers, who had a terrible stadium, the Vipers drew high, have drawn higher. And then same with the Sea Dragons. One of the things that really, I think most investors, that defines, I think, great investors, is that they tend to look around corners. They tend to see around corners. They anticipate things. Okay. They anticipate things. And look, I am not a psychic. I am not Miss Cleo, the late Miss Cleo. But what I think Rapoli is saying in this tweet, without saying it, is that, guys, Stallions, this is living on borrowed time. This is really living on borrowed time. Now, remember, there was some angling that, okay, the Stallions were going to be moved this year, but then there was the whole Save the Stallions hashtag, which really put the Stallions on maybe a year, maybe 2 year stay of execution on this. And as I mentioned last week, you have to wonder whether or not the Birmingham Stallions faithful are making it easier to say, for Mike Rapoli to say, you know what, even with DTR doing very well, even with better marketing, um, concerts, everything else, we tried to throw a lot of things at you guys, and you guys are refusing to bite. So really, it's almost at this point, it's almost like shooting fish in a barrel for Rapoli. And I try to be even-handed here on this program. I'm an ecumenical critic when it comes to a lot of the things that are happening in this league. But really, it's almost like what you see with Birmingham relative to some of the other teams. It almost reminds me of that Sesame Street song. One of these things are not like the other. Again, you won 3 times in this. You had the hub. And as I, again, watched last week's show, I pointed out highest declines in the first 3 games of anybody in this league. You have the worst post home opener attendance. It's worse than the Vipers. And then, again, lowest median household income of any of the teams in this league. And let me remind people that I'm not here to be a snob, but if the long term stuff is to have investors in this league in terms of selling these franchises or having kind of sort of an MLS owner operator model, then they're not going to be happy with these numbers. Investors want a return. They are dispassionate. They're not going to care about what DTR does. They're not going to care. It's like, yeah, that's great. They're not going to care about the free championships. This is like, basically, This is almost like a "what have you done for me lately" type of situation. And really, when I look at these numbers, when I look at some of the stuff that's going on, I just don't see it for Birmingham. I really, really don't. And I think it's a shame, really, because again, Birmingham, you guys have won 3 times. It is great. Skip Holtz, phenomenal coach during the time that he was there. It's great. But then again, for the long term success of this league, it's like, I don't know. I don't really, really see it. And then here, let's consider another thing that has not been reported on as much, and that the Oklahoma City team in 2028, there was an interview that was put out relatively recently. And once that happens, provided that the league even gets there in the first place, remember, the road to hell is paved to good intentions, that once 2028 comes, this is going to happen.
Echo Investments is the ownership group of OKC for Soccer and the incoming UFL franchise. It's also working with the city of Oklahoma City to develop the area around the multipurpose stadium.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? There is going to be an owner, an actual ownership group for the Oklahoma City team. And this will be the first true franchise for this league. Wow, wow, wow. But then there's this.
Echo Investments and the OKC for Soccer organization is on its way to create a synergy which will promote both soccer and football in downtown Oklahoma City.
I think they're going to help each other because those who may have been strictly soccer fans may not have been all into American football. And so now they're going to have posters up at the stadium for both.
Can I twist your arm into maybe letting us know what the mascot and the name of the team's going to be?
Well, I appreciate it, Jason, but you, like the thousands of fans that gave input when we asked them about naming the team, will have to wait till later this year. But be assured that the name, the new branding, the imagery that goes with it will be out into the public later this year.
This is what you can have when you've got the ability to see around corners. This is what you can have. And if you watch the entire piece, by the way, look it up. If you watch the entire piece, this has been cooking now for 2 years. This has been cooking for 2 years. And again, I think this is a watershed moment. If this truly does come to pass in 2028, this league is still standing in 2028. This is going to be a watershed moment for the league. And we love to see it. We really, really do. You have to see around corners. Daryl Johnson, by the way, I'm not a fan of him. I'm not. I've made no secret of that on this show. This is Daryl. Yes, he's mentioned in the piece, but it's one of those things where it's like the C student or the D student is taking credit for what has happened here in all of this. But when you look at the way that he ran the USFL, he could not see the forest from the trees. He looked at the immediate stuff. Yeah, playing in empty stadiums, that sort of thing. But he did not see long term. He could not see the forest from the trees. And again, what is clear to me now in this is that Birmingham, through what Rapoli tweeted, is honestly living on borrowed time. And when you look at the numbers, again, the low retention relative to the other teams. I mean, you look at Orlando and Louisville, high retention, very high retention, 82%, 75%. You look at that, and then Birmingham is 32%. It's not great. It's really, really, and again, if you look at this from a dispassionate point of view, it's really not great. It's not looking good, guys. It just isn't. So when the announcement is made that Birmingham is going to go to Idaho or whatever, Salt Lake City, things of that nature, remember Mike Rapoli's tweet and remember this episode of this program. the die has been cast, I think. And it's going to take a lot, I think. Just like DC's chances of making the United Bowl are toast, I think Birmingham's chances of surviving in this league past next year are really. I think there's a better chance of me going to the moon tomorrow for breakfast than Birmingham being around in 2028. I think. But anyway, let's go ahead and look at these picks. So last week, I was telling a friend of mine that from a competitive standpoint, I believed that the DC Orlando game should be much more competitive than the DC Louisville game. Looking at last week's results, boy, was I wrong on that one. And looking at this game, guys, now with Ta'amu out, and you got backup QBs, you got Plummer 66.7% completion percentage. For me, I would like to see DC win this one. It's one of the things where it's like I'd like DC to win. Just thinking about long-term optics for the United Bowl coming up. But I do think that the Orlando Storm, with the coaching and everything else, and especially now with having backups in DC, they are going to win this one. Storm are going to win this. Stallions, Aviators, Saturday, 3 p.m. You look at DTR, you look at the Stallions game last week. I did not think it was the most exciting game that I have seen, but certainly DTR, he has made the difference in this Stallions team versus what we saw just a few weeks ago. Again, may not be the best stuff, but I think that he is going to will these guys to a win. I like Jalen McClendon. I'm a big fan of him, but again, I think DTR, he's the better QB. I think he's going to win this, help the Stallions win this one right here. Renegades, Kings, Sunday. The Kings are on the streak. They are peaking at the right time. Redmond, maybe we are starting to become wrong a little bit on the rookie coaches in this. The Kings are going to win. This is not even close. The Kings are ascending. The Renegades are descending. I mean, why I thought that they were going to be a championship favorite early in the season. If we were talking about this stuff earlier in the week, I would say earlier in the season, I should say the Renegades, I think, would have done a number on the Kings, but the Kings, I think, are going to do a number on the Renegades on this one, especially with the regression of their QB, Austin Reed. And finally, the late game, Battlehawks Gamblers. Luis Perez, his crown as the Spring King was a little bit askew, but I think he is going to straighten up that crowd against the Gamblers. And again, with the Gamblers, they are going to make things maybe a little more interesting than it should have been. They're getting a little better, but I think that the Battlehawks are going to win this one over here, get their place into the playoffs right here. So as we end this show and we head into Memorial Day weekend, people are probably, I'm sure some of you already are firing up your grills and that sort of thing. But I do want to definitely take this time to thank our service members, all of our service members in the armed forces and everything else for their service to these United States. Very, very important stuff. I mean, looking at the game at Fort Hood this past Friday, I thought that was a really, really good thing by the league. I really, really enjoyed that a great deal. We've talked, some of us on the Swing Football has sprung Twitter. We're probably thinking that, this is probably a good thing to do, I think, every year. I don't think that this is a bad idea. I think it's actually a very, very good idea to do something like this every year. There is a case that this is kind of sort of a makeup for the botched U.S. Army sponsorship in the first year of the merger. But putting that aside, I think that the optics of this, and I think really from every indication, and credit to Fox for really making this broadcast to really look great visually. I thought that again it was very, very enjoyable and really, really well done. So again, do this every year. I think it's a very, very, very good thing. And what is also going to be a very, very good thing is that we are going to be back with another new episode next week. And we're going to be continuing to pump out these episodes now at this point until the week after the championship. So, or sorry, United Bowl, I should say. So do join us next week and every Friday right here. Spring Football Has Sprung right here, youtube.com/the CSE channel. Do like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And until I see you next week, please, please don't fumble in the end zone.